And we're back at it again. How are you? Happy Tuesday to 28th day of January 2020. I'm Dan Kuntz, your host. This is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Back at it again. Lots of good stuff for you today. The local PUDs have been in the news lately. Yesterday, to the surprise of really nobody, the Douglas County PUD raised the rates rather dramatically for cryptocurrency miners and data processors. They're going to see their rates in Douglas County anyway. The electrical rates go up quite a bit. We'll have that in the news. And of course, what's Chelan County PUD up to? We'll have a chance to find out together because our very own special news correspondent Steve Hare had a chance late last week to sit down with the general manager of the Chelan PUD, Steve Wright. And we'll have that conversation in its entirety as part of Steve's special program called In Focus. You'll see that in the second half of the program. We got some sports to get to, not a lot. We do have a lot of news to get to. I'm not going to lie to you there. Plus, we have the obscure holiday. Mike Benatti's got an opinion. Some celebrity birthdays today in history will be coming your way as well. Pretty wet night. Started raining about 5:30 yesterday afternoon, evening, if you will. And it rained pretty good till right around midnight. In fact, we got 0.26 inches of rain, a little bit more than a quarter of an inch of rain. And for us, that's a lot of rain. And we're going to have this on again, off again sort of roller coaster of dry days and wet days. Today will be a dry day, and then tomorrow another wet day, and then dry on Thursday and wet on Friday. Basically every other day we get a pretty good dose of precipitation with some snow in the upper elevations. Right now, if you haven't walked out the door yet and you plan on traveling on Blewett Pass has a chain requirement right now with traction tires advised on the other two major mountain passes. We'll get to that as well and your forecast, as you might imagine. A couple of minutes after the hour, let's begin where we always begin, our tour around the valley with our high-definition PTZ cameras. That's an acronym for pan, tilt, and zoom. We can do that with all of these cameras. That, of course, is our cross camera. Always does the honors of beginning our tour because that's the camera we use more than any other camera. And we got a lot of them. They're all over the place. And we use these as news-gathering tools, not toys, although we occasionally play with them. Beautiful view of the Wenatchee Valley and the East Wenatchee area and Sunny Slope way off in the distance, Old Station. Gorgeous view, some low-hanging clouds, a little misty. We're at 32 degrees outside of our studios. Not particularly warm today, only about 35 to 36, but again, for the most part, it'll be fairly dry before the next round of precipitation comes our way Wednesday. Camera 2, Camera 3, and Camera 4 will all be Megan's choice. I recognize that one now. That's Valley High, correct, Megan? That's on the way up to Blue Pass. As you can see, it's snowing at Valley High, and as I mentioned, Blue Pass has a chain requirement. That camera is in black and white. It's not light enough for the camera to automatically switch over to color. Sunrise this morning in about 28 minutes, 7:32 will be sunrise. Sunset tonight, 4:56, almost to 5 o'clock. 9 hours and 24 minutes of daylight. We're gaining about 90 seconds of daylight every day. I like that. Camera number 3. Hi to downtown Wenatchee, USA. I'm assuming that's from the roof of the Cascadian. Yes, looking down towards, the downtown area. East Wenatchee. Looks like the morning commute is going mighty fine indeed. We'll be visiting, by the way, with our friends at Pybus, the Pybus Public Market, where communities meet. We meet with them once a month, and you'll be able to see that interview this Friday. Looking forward to that. Camera number 4. Hello to Arando Rock, the Arando Rock camera. One of our lower cameras comes in handy when we have lots of low clouds and fog, and all of our cameras that are way up high in elevation, and that's the vast majority of them, we can't use them. So we have to go with some of the cameras so we can actually see stuff. Highway 2 and 97 to your left on the commute as people head up to Arando or Waterville or heading back down the other direction towards little old Wenatchee town. You got Rocky Reach Dam off there, Lake Antioch, looking good. And of course, dominating your view there is Turtle Rock. Good work this morning from Megan on our cameras around the valley. As we roll forward at about 5 minutes after the hour, another slide from our friends at the National Weather Service. This is basically an idea of what we're looking at for the rest of the week. It hasn't really changed much from the last time we visited 24 hours ago. It's going to rain in the valleys, snow in the mountains. We'll be dealing with some patchy valley fog pretty much every day this week in the early morning hours. Very mild temperatures. We'll be in the 50s by the weekend. Wait till we get to that forecast. A little breezy at times on Friday and Saturday. It's going to feel more like mid-March than mid-January by the time we get to the end of the week, because these Pacific weather systems are not only going to bring us quite a bit of rain throughout the course of the week, but some seriously warm air will be coming our way by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. In fact, From Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, they give your home a hug. The National Weather Service says, here's what we're in store for. Look at the warm-up. Got a lot today. Again, most of the rain that we've had is about done. Just a slight chance of a stray raindrop. Outside of that, we'll have some fog in the clouds in the morning, some sun breaks this afternoon, kind of yesterday. A little bit warmer. We'll top off at 41 for our afternoon high on later on today. Patchy fog, lots of clouds tonight. We'll get down to 31 for the overnight low. Next round of rain coming our way. Lots of clouds, a little rain, a little snow in the upper elevations. The snow level is going to start out at 1,600 feet, but that's before the rain comes. By the time the precipitation gets here, the snow level will be up to 2,600 feet. So rain in the valley, snow in the upper elevations, lots of snow in the mountain passes. I'll get to that in a minute. As you can see, we'll top off at 38. Then we dry out on Thursday with a high of 39. Next round of rain on Friday. Basically rain yesterday, Monday. Pretty dry today. Rain Wednesday, fairly dry Thursday. Rain on Friday. Look at that, near 50. And a continuing chance of rain on Saturday. And Sunday, we cool back down to more normal temperatures by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday. So there's your 7-day forecast brought to you by Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Let's take you up to the major mountain passes. We'll start out with a live shot of I-90 Snoqualmie Pass. Good morning, I-90. You got some traction tires advised there. Snow and slush on the roadway. It's snowing, as you can see. Doesn't look too bad. Traction tires advised on Snoqualmie Pass. There's also a traction tire advisory on Stevens Pass, where you'll find a lot more snow on the highway there. Compact snow and ice on the roadway. They're going to be doing some avalanche control work at 8 o'clock this morning on Stevens Pass. Eastbound traffic, they're going to stop you at milepost 70. Westbound traffic, that would be us, is going to be stopped at milepost 71. So basically, pretty small little area of Stevens Pass, but they're going to go ahead and throw some detonators into the side of the hill, let the snow come down, clear it off. Don't really know how long it's going to take. It could be about a half an hour. It could be upwards of an hour and a half. It depends entirely on how much snow comes down on the highway. So a heads up, Stevens Pass will be closed for avalanche control work at 8 o'clock this morning. How long it'll be closed, we don't know. And finally, Blue Pass, who has a chain requirement. It's snowing pretty good on US 97 Blue Pass. So a chain requirement posted there on all vehicles except all-wheel drive. So traction tires advised on I-90. Traction tires advised on Stevens with some avalanche control work coming up at 8 o'clock. Blue Pass has a chain requirement. 3 to 5 inches of snow today. Most of it will be in the morning. So if you can put off driving over the mountain passes until later on this afternoon, you're going to be in much better shape because most of the snow is going to come down now until about 10, 11 o'clock this morning. The winter weather advisory is still in effect until 10 o'clock this morning, as a matter of fact. Passes dry out tonight. Nothing really going on. Big snow tomorrow. 5 to 9 inches of snow. Pretty much it's going to snow all day on Wednesday, and then it dries out Wednesday night, and an additional couple of inches on Thursday. Dries out Thursday night, a few inches on Friday. Same deal, like we're going to have here in the Wenatchee Valley, only in the form of snow instead of rain. But they're going to get, they're getting quite a bit of snow right now. Again, by noonish or so, the passes, you should be good to go if you're a little leery about driving in the snow, and who isn't? It's 9 minutes after the hour. We're going to take a break and come back with your Tuesday morning news. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, and we're broadcasting live this morning from Studio One in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Live channel.
My name is Lacey Haggerty, and I'm a nurse midwife with Columbia Valley Community Health. I love all aspects of my job because it is a profession that's very committed to empowering women to make decisions in their health care that feel best for them. It's incredibly valuable to me as a midwife that I get to take care of women throughout their whole lifespan. I hope to see you at a future visit because I know you'll love having midwifery care.
Local breweries are on a row in Wenatchee. Brewers Row, that is. Start with Wenatchee Valley Brewing Company near Riverside 9 Apartments. Continue south down Riverside Drive to Columbia Valley Brewing. Then it's off to Badger Mountain Brewing on the corner of Arrondo and Columbia Streets. Further south on Columbia is 509 Beer Works. Each has its own charm, unique menu, and some of the best locally made brew around. Find it all on Brewers Row along the waterfront in downtown Wenatchee.
We're back. A little cloudy, a little foggy, a little misty. Play misty for me. 32 degrees, clouds and sun this afternoon, fairly dry. We'll be up, upper 30s or so. Next round of rain comes our way tomorrow. Here's what's making headlines. As expected, Douglas County PUD commissioners on Monday approved new rate increases affecting the county's cryptocurrency and data processing industry. General Manager Gary Ivory says customers such as Sabi Corporation will see a big hike in rates due to the large amount of electricity they consume. He says the rate hikes are the result of a 5-year strategic plan involving substantial public input.
Sabi data centers are paying around 2.4 cents right now for their kilowatt hour charge. After 5 years, their kilowatt hour charge would be up to about 3.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So still far below the state average and far below the national average. The state average is around the 7 cents. So they're concerned. It is a large increase. There's no doubt about that. These are big increases. One thing we learned through the customer feedback process, we got over 500 responses from customers, and 400 of those responses told us, hold the data centers accountable. They're using all the power. Focus the rate increases and the proposals on those industries because they're the ones that are creating the problem. And so that's what our policymakers have chosen to do.
Now, the Sabi Corporation claims the higher power rates could prove too costly to continue operations. The Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority has asked for a slowdown in the planning process. The port CEO, Jim Kuhn, says there needs to be a closer look at the possible impacts of the county's economy and property tax base should the data centers be forced to close. The rates for the cryptocurrency and data centers will go up 10% twice a year for the next 5 years, and those rate hikes begin in July. Well, a Chelan County PUD official says escalating tensions in the Middle East have renewed concerns about possible terrorist cyber threats to the electrical grid. PUD General Manager Steve Wright explained in a recent interview with our own Steve Hare.
Certainly the events in Iran did send a warning flag up for everyone in the electric utility industry. I will say that we received that warning flag at Chelan PUD. The bad guys will seek any avenue they can find to get into the bulk electric power system, and even a relatively small utility like Chelan PUD could be a vehicle for them to be able to get into the bigger system and then do real damage. So we are part of a national system. We consider ourselves part of the national security defense system, that we are on the front lines just like every other electric utility that's out there. We regularly talk and discuss where those threats are coming from. We get information from the national security system. We try to make sure that we understand that, we integrate it, we take action based on the evidence that's brought forward to us. So very big issue for us. I'd love to tell you, don't worry, it's not a problem. I can't tell you that. I worry about it all the time. Because, again, these bad guys, they're constantly thinking of new ways to try to get into our system. And the one thing I will promise you is we're going to do everything we can.
Wright discussed a range of issues, including a planned electrical rate increase. That planned electrical rate increase will be discussed at a February 3rd public hearing in Wenatchee. You can watch the entire interview by going to our website at ncblife.com, or just stay tuned. Steve Hare's talk with Steve Wright as part of his In Focus series of interviews will air in its entirety in the second half of this morning's program. A former employee at Mission Ridge Ski and Board Resort had allegedly admitted to stealing large amounts of money from Mission Ridge. Chelan County Sheriff's deputies say Mary Elizabeth Peterson, she's 47, took almost $40,000 while she was employed there in 2018 and 2019. She did it by creating 60 to 70 false season pass refunds and then transferring the money into her own debit cards. Deputies say Peterson, who's also known as Mary Nelson, admitted to the theft in a police interview but believed she'd only stolen about $20,000. She was manager of Mission Ridge's ticketing department from the fall of 2018 until she was fired last spring. She's charged in Chelan County Superior Court with first-degree theft. Well, school bus drivers working for the Wenatchee School District have spent months in negotiations for a new contract. Well, on Friday, they took their argument to the streets. Our very own Jefferson Robbins was there, and he filed this report.
The Wenatchee School District employs about 30 bus drivers, and on Friday, practically all of them were on the street corner at Orondo and Chelan Avenue, seeking public support while they work toward a new contract.
We've been in negotiations for 9+ months, and we've made some headway, and we've worked out together. and but we've also been a very long time coming, and it's been difficult.
As a result, the drivers' union decided to hold this noontime rally, an informational picket to seek support from passersby.
So it's just time to inform the public and take that next step. So, and we're hoping for a resolution quickly. We love our jobs, we want to keep doing it, but you know, we need a fair wage and to be treated with respect and like everybody else. So it's just our turn.
The drivers say they can't talk about specifics they're seeking from the district, but Union President Andy King says they want a contract that reflects their professional driving ability.
We try to compete with other districts around North Central Washington so that not only do we get the same or the better wages, but we want to keep our drivers when they do come here.
School bus drivers are in short supply nationally, and driver Ashley Wallace says they come from all walks of life.
They're not just retirees. We're younger and we really need this wage to live off of. There's a lot of mothers and fathers that work for the district, and it just helps to have that stability, and we love our jobs.
Negotiations with the school district, which did not return a call seeking comment, are set to resume on Tuesday. Andy King says if there's no progress, drivers plan to be back on the sidewalks for further rallies starting the same day. Jefferson Robbins, NCW Life.
Thank you for that report, Jefferson. And finally, on this Tuesday morning, in a press release last week, the city of Wenatchee announced the hiring of Laura Merrill. She's the new Executive Services Director. She served as Deputy City Manager in Fresno for just under a couple of years. Grant Olson was joined by Merrill and Wenatchee Mayor Frank Kuntz last week for a visit where we learned that social media and a personal visit from the mayor himself actually played a large part in the new hiring.
Allison Williams has gone on to Moses Lake, so you sort of go through the morning of what that looks like, and then at some point there was a little social media ping activity that happened, and so we heard that maybe Laura had moved to town, and so occasionally it's might have knocked on her door or something and figured out if she was really a person, and
you did that yourself?
I did that myself, and one of the first questions I asked her, because I think sometimes in government, when you get out of government, do you really want to stay in it again? Maybe it's time to go to the private sector. So my first question to her was, are you interested in staying in government? I mean, is that something that excites you, or are you interested in staying? And she said, yeah, I anticipate getting into government again. And so that sort of started this little program where she met all the department heads and went through some interview processes. And then the more I got to know her, the more I thought she was just the right fit for our city. And so here we are a couple of months later, and we've got a new Executive Services Director.
And Laura, that had to be an amazing knock on your door.
It was, it's still sort of kind of a funny story, today, but it's very, it was an honor, of course, and it was just one of those things where, is this really happening? The mayor's at my door, And, we had just moved into our house. I was wearing my house clothes, and so it's a funny story, but again, very honored, and it was very exciting to know that this opportunity was available. And so when he asked the question, I absolutely said, yeah.
So you did have that itch to get back into government too?
Absolutely. When we moved up here, I wanted to take some time to sort of figure out the area, and I started kind of learning about the local politics, and I was following Allison's trajectory just because I thought, okay, there's going to be a position opening up, and so I was sort of paying attention to everything, knowing that, okay, whenever it happened, it would kind of happen, but to get that knock at the door, it was like, well, here it is, and here we go.
Merrill moved to Wenatchee last November. She'll start work February 3rd. Of course, she replaces longtime Wenatchee Executive Services Director Allison Williams, who accepted the job as city manager in Moses Lake. And that's what's making headlines at 19 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday. News team will be out of again, putting together a newscast. We believe an informed viewer is a good viewer. And what's some of the stories we're working on for the evening news tonight? Here's a preview with Grant Olson.
Good morning, Dan. Coming up tonight on the NCW Life Evening News, a former employee at Mission Ridge Ski Area allegedly admitted to stealing large amounts of money from the resort. Ballots were mailed last week for several special elections in Chelan and Douglas counties. I'll have your wet and warm North Central Washington weather forecast, and Eric Granstrom will be in with all the day's sports action. That and much more coming up tonight at 5, 6, and 10 on the NCW Life Evening News. Hope to see you then. Dan?
Thanks, Grant. I appreciate it. I consume my news on the NCW Life channel on my smart TV. That way I can get home, I can get all settled in, and I can watch Grant whenever I want to, and the same applies to you. We'll have our news up and running on our website right around 5 o'clock if you want to watch it on demand, and you can always get a hold of us too. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Just one quick little rule of thumb. If you want to comment on the performance of this program, Wake Up Wenatchee Valley specifically, remember, we only accept unqualified praise. Get a hold of us on Facebook, go to our website, or email us news@ncwlife.com. 21 minutes after the hour. Sports, the obscure holiday, today in history, some celebrity birthdays. Everyone is entitled to Mike McNally's opinion. And then another edition of In Focus with our special news correspondent Steve Hare and his conversation with Steve Wright, the general manager of the Chelan PUD. That's all coming up between now and the top of the hour. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley live this morning from Studio 2 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life channel.
The two hottest pickups in America are at Town Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. First, the Ram 1500 with back-to-back Truck of the Year awards from Motor Trend, and now the Car and Driver 10 Best list for 2020. They call it a luxury sedan with pickup capabilities. Ram is on a roll now with third-generation EcoDiesel power. Next up, the Jeep Gladiator, also a 2020 10 Best model based on the new award-winning Jeep Wrangler. It has options and capabilities that no other truck can offer. Two more reasons when it comes to buying a truck. There's no reason to leave town.
So Pam, how's your mom doing?
She's okay. She's struggling. She'd like to stay in her house, and it's getting harder for her to do the daily chores.
What kinds of problems is she having?
Just basic house cleaning, taking care of her house, yard work, taking care of her medicine.
Mm-hmm. It does sound exhausting.
It is very exhausting, and I always worry about her.
Aging and Adult Care can assist you or your loved one to remain comfortably and safely in their own home. Contact them today to start the conversation. We're back at 22 minutes after the hour. Let's talk sports. Our very own sports director, Eric Granstrom, took some time last weekend to head on west. He attended the Sportsman Show in Puyallup, the gateway to Chehalis. And while he was there, he ran into a familiar face.
Well, we're over here in Puyallup taking in the Sportsman Show, and we ran into our buddy Richie Harrod Outdoors. And, of course, we're talking about the Western Washington, Eastern Washington thing, Richie, and exposing those here on the west side to the east side. And I assume that's probably part of the reason why you're here.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of viewers over here in Western Washington that watch our show, the Northwest Outdoorsman. So it's fun to come over here and hear that they've watched the show and that they enjoy what we do in other parts of the Northwest. So, yeah, that's why we're here.
Now, we've got some new shows coming up, speaking of which, right here on the NCW Life channel, starting this weekend, as a matter of fact. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to see on the new shows.
Oh, yeah, so new shows coming up finally. So I already had a lot of viewers here say, when do you have a new shows? I was like, that live in Wenatchee. So we have all kinds of things coming up, some great hunting and fishing throughout the Northwest, and I think people really enjoy some of our new stuff.
I think what I love specifically, and I think what a lot of your viewers love, is the fact that your dad's here, your wife's here. I mean, the other stars of the show, that you feature your family on your show.
Yeah, well, like I tell a lot of the viewers here, our show is just about us, and we are who we are. There's nothing fancy about it. We just capture what we do, and being in the outdoors is really, in my opinion, about being with family and friends. So that's what we try to capture.
Now, here in Puyallup, you're also doing some seminars, too?
Yes, I'm doing 2 different seminars. I do one a day and alternate, and I'm talking about bow hunting in the Pacific Northwest for elk, and then I'm teaching people how to do it-yourself backcountry hunting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Also, with the spice line, now you got something new coming out. Tell us more about that.
Well, we have a brand new barbecue sauce, and it's a recipe a buddy of mine has had for a long time, and he came to me, and we had to modify it a little bit so we could get it to go to market. And it's bottled for us by Paradigm Food Works in Portland, Oregon, but it's our recipe. And we brought 10 cases to this show, and I think the last 4 bottles is on the table.
Really?
Yeah.
Better get over there, that's for sure. Well, Richie, it's always nice to see you, and I just wanted to kind of talk to some of the guys from our neck of the woods about being over here on the west side and being at a show like this, what that does for you and what that does maybe for our neck of the woods in Eastern Washington.
Oh, it's great to be over here. I think it's real important that we, connect both sides of the state a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so I've really enjoyed being over here and talking to people, and we all have the same passion in the outdoors, and that's what it's really about.
Well, be sure and watch starting this weekend and coming up here throughout the month of February, new episodes of the Northwest Outdoorsman with Richie Harrod right here on the NCW Live channel. Of course, look him up on Facebook too. He's also posting little teases about shows to come, and you can find him on the web too. So, Richie, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Good to see you.
Richie Harrod joining us here on the NCW Live channel.
Thank you, Eric. In the world of sports, let's look at some scores. Pretty quiet Monday, all things considered. We'll start out with men's college basketball. Kim Aiken Jr. scored 20 points, including the go-ahead three-pointer in overtime. Eastern beats Northern Colorado 89-84. Women's college basketball, Lady Eagles not quite as fortunate. Alicia Davis scores a career-high 21 points. Unfortunately, she plays for Northern Colorado, and they beat Eastern, as you see there, 63-42. One high school score to pass along from last night. Antioch girls stopping Soap Lake 55-22 in their just schedule for today. You got Cascade traveling to Warden. You got Chelan hosting Okanagan. Omak is at Kashmir. Antioch travels to Cascade Christian. And Madison is at Liberty Bell. Those are all girls' games. Boys later on tonight, same schedule, just a little bit later on. Cascades at Warden, same start at 7:15. They'll get going at the Rondeau Memorial Gymnasium in Kashmir for the Bulldogs and the Bulldogs. Okanagan will be in Chelan. Coming up at 7:30, you got Liberty Bell hosting Cascade. Antioch is at Cascade Christian. Earlier in the day today, Eastmont will celebrate senior night with the final home bowling match of the year for the Lady Wildcats. They'll host Sunnyside at 2 o'clock at Eastmont Lanes at Lake Bowl. In Moses Lake, the Chiefs also wrap up their regular season with a 3:30 match against Eisenhower. To the wrestling mats we go. 4 Caribou Trail League teams will mix it up. In Okanagan at 6 o'clock, you got Kashmir and Okanagan and Cascade Wrestling Chelan. Then at 7 o'clock, you got Kashmir and Chelan and Cascade facing Okanagan. And the CWAC tonight, you got Quincy hosting Othello, while Ephrata travels to Wapato at 7 o'clock. The Wenatchee Wild have an interesting schedule this week. They'll be on the road tomorrow. They'll be in Vernon to take on the Vipers at 7 o'clock on Friday. They'll be at Trail, again starting at 7. Now they hop on the bus, forget about us, and come right back down to the big city when they return home. It's Guns and Hoses night at the Town Toyota Center. The Coquitlam Express comes to town at 7:05. Arch Ecker will be my guest on Thursday's edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. And here's our sports broadcast schedule for the rest of the week. And yep, it's a busy one. We'll have Wenatchee and Eastmont girls bowling at 7 o'clock tonight. On Thursday, it's hockey night. It always is. We got the Wild and Surrey at 7 o'clock, followed by Eastmont and Wenatchee wrestling at 9 o'clock. Grant will be at Eastmont High School Friday night. The Wildcats will host Moses Lake. The girls at 6:30, the boys at 8. And then we'll be at Wenatchee High School Saturday night. Panthers and the Wildcats will have those games live. The girls at 5:30, the boys at 7:30. In between games, they'll have the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies for Wenatchee High School. Dylan Sugg, Isaiah Brandt Sims, and Jay Young enter the Hall of Fame on Saturday night. Congratulations to those 3 gentlemen. Well deserved. Those are just some of the games that people are playing on this Tuesday. It's 28 minutes after the hour. I had a number of different holidays to choose from for your obscure holiday. Today is National Kazoo Day. And for somebody who loves music as much as I do, kazoos just drive me nuts. They just, something about the sound of the kazoo. It's National Blueberry Pancake Day, which doesn't sound bad. It's Data Privacy Day, important, but not as important as Fun at Work Day today. Yes, it's National Fun at Work Day. It's celebrated every January 28th. Normally frowned upon by management, but good managers know that to have fun at work every once in a while, not all the time, you just can't go to work and goof off, supposedly. But most of the time, managers know that letting workers have a little fun on the job every once in a while, it increases productivity. Employees have a tendency to hang around a lot longer. Employee retention has become much of an issue. Makes for a more positive work environment. Employees can be more productive, more creative, more loyal, perhaps. Have fun at work today. Now, you want to clear it with your boss, provided that you have a boss. That's one of the nice things probably about being your own boss. It can always be have fun at work day. Just remember, if you're going to have fun at work today and you're going to make it an official holiday, clear it with management, because the last thing you want to do tomorrow is celebrate, I just got canned day today. We don't want that to happen. National Have Fun at Work Day. today in history. There's snowstorms, and then there's snowstorms, and then there's the blizzard of 77. They still talk about this in Buffalo, New York. It snowed for 3 days. It didn't snow a lot. What happened is Lake Erie froze over, which very rarely happens, but it was so cold in the winter of 76, 77, it literally froze over. It snowed a lot, but no winds. So basically there was about 40 inches of snow on Lake Erie, and then in came the wind and the snow, and it started to snow, and it would not stop. Eventually 10 feet of snow fell on the ground. We have a news report, a classic news report from Buffalo from 1977. Oh, you forgot to add the videos? That's okay, don't worry about it. By the way, 27 people ended up dying in this thing. 27 people, including 9 people in the greater Buffalo area who died in their cars of carbon monoxide poisoning. It snowed so hard and the roads were so impassable, they thought they'd just wait in their car until the snow stopped and the plows came. And unfortunately, they had to keep the cars running to keep warm, and 9 people died of carbon monoxide poisoning just sitting in their own cars because it snowed that hard they couldn't get out. Happened on this date 43 years ago. January 28th, 1986, I remember this. It's like it was yesterday. This is the 34th anniversary of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. Of course, it disintegrated after liftoff. All 7 astronauts on board died on that date. I'll never forget that day. Watched it live on TV. 3 Super Bowls were held on this date. Super Bowl 24, also known as Super Bowl XXIV, was held on this date in beautiful New Orleans. The San Francisco I was in New Orleans during the Super Bowl, and during this particular Super Bowl on January 28th, 1990. One of the things I noticed as you walked around the French Quarter and around the Superdome, there was probably 4 Denver Broncos fans for every single 49er fan. They didn't do much. 49ers won 55-10, the most lopsided Super Bowl in history. Their 55 points by the 49ers still remains the all-time Super Bowl record. This was also the last Super Bowl to kick off earlier than 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Super Bowl XXIV held on this date. January 28th, 1996, Super Bowl XXX was held. The Dallas Cowboys win their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-17, Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe, Arizona. The tradition of presenting the Vince Lombardi Trophy to the winning team after the game on the field began with Super Bowl 30. They've been doing it ever since. Before that, they would present the Super Bowl trophy, the Vince Lombardi Trophy, in the winning team's locker room, but that changed 24 years ago today. And this is the 19th anniversary of Super Bowl XXXV, Super Bowl 35. The Ravens beat the Giants in Tampa. The final there was 34-7. This was the last Super Bowl to have the individual player introductions. Beginning with the next year's Super Bowl, Super Bowl 36, the teams were simply introduced as a team. Maybe the most famous part about this Super Bowl is that the American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit because they used software, facial recognition software. They scanned the face of everybody who walked through the gates at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa without actually telling anybody they were doing it. They've caught 19 people with arrest warrants. The problem is that they were all thrown out in court because the people weren't actually being told that software was being used. Now everybody knows if you go to the Super Bowl, they're going to look at your face. And that's today in history. Celebrity birthdays. He'll always be known as Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce on MASH. Alan Alda is 84 years old today, won 5 Emmys while he was on MASH. He was the only actor or actress on the show to appear in all 251 episodes. Of course, he also did a great stint on the show ER and on the show The West Wing. Alan Alda is 84 years old today. Happy birthday to Greg Popovich, Pop, or Poppy, if you will. He's 71 years old today. He's been the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs since 1996. In fact, he is the longest tenured coach of any professional team. Baseball, football, hockey, NBA, he's been there longer than anybody. He's won more games than any coach in NBA history. He has a winning record against every other team in the NBA, and of course he's won 5 NBA championships. Happy 71st birthday to Greg Popovich, and happy 61st birthday to Frank Darabont, who directed The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile and was the creator of The Walking Dead. Frank Darabont is 61 years old today. And before I forget, Campbell's Resort. There you go. The destination deal is going on. Now, we're almost to the end of January. If they're going to extend this into February, more power to them, but there's no guarantees. So if you've said, gee, we really should take advantage of this destination deal. I mean, if we're local and we can get a room at Campbell's starting at just $95 a night, why shouldn't we do that? Well, here it is, the 28th day of January. Who knows? They might not extend this into February. Take advantage while the getting is good. Give Campbell's a call. Again, if you live here in North Central Washington, you can get a room at Campbell's luxurious resort starting at just $95 a night. Going to take a break. Mike McKnight's got an opinion, and then Steve Hare and his conversation with Steve Wright, the general manager of the Chelan PUD. Coming up, you're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
What's your Automocha emergency?
It's a Frappuccino mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor. Peanut butter chocolate for pita.
Definitely the espresso shakes.
My favorite is the mocha for pitas.
A peach Red Bull.
When you think of Doghouse Motorsports, you might think of motorcycles, but there's a lot more in this house. How about Honda power equipment? From snow blowers to lawnmowers to generators and even water pumps, Honda is the brand that sets the standards. Perhaps you need an ATV or UTV. The Doghouse has the largest selection anywhere. Did we mention watercraft and snowmobiles? And of course, we have motorcycles too. Back it up with terrific customer service and you have Wenatchee's best motorsports store 5 years running. Isn't it time for you to be in the Doghouse?
Hey, this is Mad Dog McNally, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, many Christians today share the perception that society is deteriorating, and that's evidence that we are in the end times. Well, I don't deny some nasty stuff is going on nowadays, but I do feel a lot of this deterioration is just the natural progression of human nature, which has always been problematic. Now, I contend that in many ways, society is improving. Now, not perfect yet by any means, but improving. For example, recognition of our need to acknowledge and stand up against domestic abuse and domestic violence. Our acknowledgement and willing to deal with the abuse of our children. Our increased recognition of and the respect for the rights of the disenfranchised. Also, an improvement is an increased recognition of the respect of women's rights and their role in our society. And like them or not, the fact that this country matured enough to elect a black man for president. Now maybe, just maybe in some ways, we're moving in the right direction. Now, this is Mike Mad Dog McNally, and that's my opinion.
Arctic Refrigeration and Heating has been serving North Central Washington for 34 years. Arctic provides the finest heating and cooling air quality products for residential and commercial customers, along with prompt and professional customer service. Arctic also offers specialty services like custom sheet metal fabrication of ductwork, coil cleaning, as well as planned fall and spring maintenance for the overall well-being of your system. Arctic is available for emergency calls 24/7. Call Arctic Refrigeration and Heating for your heating and cooling needs.
Transform your windows with a variety of colors and styles like the Allure Transitional Window Covering by Lafayette Interior Fashions. Hi, this is Darren with Mini Blinds and More. We can install the latest and greatest in technology to open and close your blinds with only a touch of a button. From the largest windows in your home to room darkening shades for the bedroom. From stylish shades for your entertainment room to custom blinds for those hard-to-fit places. We have a solution for all of your window covering needs. We offer a variety of window coverings from Lafayette Interior Fashions. Call us today. We are Mini Blinds and More, your local blind store.
Hi, I'm Steve Hare, and this is In Focus on NCW Life. I want to preface our conversation today with just a little comment here as an introduction to our guest, Steve Wright, who is the General Manager of the Chelan County Public Utility District. And if you're a Chelan County PUD customer and you're not yet aware of the plans for future rate increases, well, you must have been living in a vacuum over the past year because, speaking personally, the PUD has been very transparent as far as this process is concerned in setting the rates. And I've invited Steve to join us here to kind of share more information on that. Because certainly you would say, I'm sure, that the public has been engaged in this process from day one.
Well, we've been at this for more than a year now, so we're coming to the end of a long journey. And Steve, we appreciate you and the work that you've done because you've helped us to communicate with the county about what we are trying to do here and why we're trying to do it. It has been more than 9 years since we've increased rates, and our concern right now is fundamentally that I would say this is not a necessary action. We're not in financial trouble or anything like that. It's a prudent action. It's a way to protect, to make sure that we carry out the wishes of our customers. So we surveyed our customers. We asked them about, yes, at some point we will need to raise rates. We could hold off as long as possible, but we might be at risk of double-digit type rate increases at that point. Or we could do something in a more measured way, rate of inflation type increases over the next few years. 75% of our customers came back and said we would prefer a more measured approach, a more thoughtful approach to this, something that allows us to not have to make a big adjustment in our life because all of a sudden our electric bill went up in a way that we weren't anticipating. So they've been really clear with us, and that's been extremely helpful to us. And now we're just at the last step of that long journey to actually moving forward with implementation.
Well, let's talk about the current status of your finances at the PUD, because I think you've stated pretty clearly that you think you're in pretty healthy condition right now.
We are. We've had a couple of really great years, our best years ever financially. The last 2 years, and we're close to finishing up the books for 2019. This one will also have been in that top 3 of good years. So that has positioned us well. But there are a couple things going on here too. We also know that we need to make some big investments in our assets. So the reason that we have such low rates here in Chelan County is because we have these fabulous hydropower assets in particular. And they do take some rather large investments, and I would say there has been some underinvestment in the past. And so we're now substantially increasing our capital budgets, doing a lot more work out there. Because the cool thing about Chelan PUD, the thing I've loved ever since I got here, was that this utility had a long history and culture of thinking long-term, of not just focusing on what is the cost going to be next week or next month, but thinking about where do we want to be over the long run. That's how it got to the point of having the lowest rates in the country. So that philosophy continues today, and we're thinking about making those large investments to make sure that those assets are well taken care of and will continue to provide value to Chelan County customers long into the future.
So basically, you're looking at rate increases as a hedge against future problems.
Yes, that's exactly right. So what we've said is we sell a lot of power in the wholesale market, and we use the revenue from that to keep rates low in Chelan County. And those markets produce variable revenues. Can't be sure how much they will produce. We've seen a decline in those markets in the last few years as there's been a lot of solar and wind added into the Western power markets. If that was to continue to decline, we would be exposed to having to generate more revenue to cover what has revenue that we've had coming from someplace else. Basically, people from outside Chelan County have been helping us to keep our rates low. Having a reserve, a financial reserve, will protect against having to have some kind of large rate increase. And one of the things that we've committed to is the revenue we generate from this rate increase will go into a reserve. So it's going to sit there to be ready to help for if things were to get more difficult, either on the revenue side or if we had unanticipated costs, something that we don't know and don't see coming today. Then we've got a cover to make sure that we are not exposed to going back to our Chelan County customers and saying, oh my gosh, we're in trouble, and now we need for you to come up with large sums of money.
I know that there might be some people out there that are saying, well, geez, the PUD is going at new construction and capital projects with great speed, including your service center and headquarters that you're building out at Old Station. Is that in any way tied to the future rate increases?
No, because what those are cost-effective investments. We've done a lot of analysis to look at what's the least cost path over the long term for Chelan PUD customers. And I want to remind you, when the dams were built, it wasn't entirely clear that those were going to be cost-effective investments, but especially in the short term. But in the long term, the feeling of the folks who were in charge was, this is going to be a great value. Well, that turned out to be a really wise investment, that long-term thinking. We're applying that long-term thinking today to our hydro system assets, and we're applying it as well to the new service center that we're working on, to consolidate all of our facilities in one place and be able to better serve the county from a more central location. But just on a cost basis alone, this is justified because it's less costly than trying to rehabilitate and modernize a set of aging facilities that are kind of spread around in a candidly not very thoughtful way. There's a much better way of doing this, and now more than 4 years of study that we put into that, we've concluded it's time to move forward.
Your staff has reported that even when we're talking about the current distribution system, the current operation and the cost of operating the PUD, the current rate structure is not sustainable.
Right. So currently what happens is our rates are heavily subsidized, again, with this revenue that we generate from other parts of
Right.
the outside of Chelan County. Each year that goes by when we don't have a rate increase, that subsidy gets bigger and bigger, and the margin we make on sales outside of the county has been getting smaller. So we're not exposed in the near term to a big problem, but over the longer term, certainly costs will continue to increase. It's inflationary pressures alone will cause cost to increase. And what we're uncertain of is how much revenue we will generate from outside the county. So if that were to continue to decline, then that margin that we're making becomes smaller than the subsidy that we're providing to keep Chelan County rates as low as possible.
How would you describe the situation right now in terms of the growth of the system? I know that you have plans to build some new substations here, especially up Lake Chelan area, but that's continuing as well.
Yeah, this is a place that's definitely growing. We had the largest number of residential hookups in our history last year, over 1,000. And I would say from the first couple of months, it looks like we're going to have another year like that. So there's definitely a lot of people who want to live in Chelan County. That's no surprise to me as someone who moved here and felt that I had discovered this hidden gem. The hidden gem is getting discovered by lots of different folks out there. So we are seeing a lot of growth, and we also, there are interests here, and we saw it in our strategic planning process when we talked to customers. There are interests out there in terms of economic development. How do we create more family wage jobs here? I think the first big success is the Diamond Foundry. That's a large load. That's a significant amount of electric power, not like an aluminum plant type load, but still a significant amount of power that gets taken there. But it's going to create family wage jobs here in the county. So we are working with the port and with other economic development interests here in the county to say, where are those right fits, those things where we can create some jobs without creating a lot of pressure on Chelan County PUD rates, and I would expect that we will find more of those.
Is it similar to what you were doing with your high-density load discussions and rate setting for the blockchain industry? I was going to ask you, too, what that industry looks like now. What does the demand look like? Has it leveled off since you've established those new rates?
Well, again, what we do as a consumer on utilities is, first of all, we talk to our customers and say, what do you want?
Yeah.
And we had a long public process around cryptocurrency. And I think we got a pretty clear message that that was a very heavy user of electricity, producing not very many jobs. And the community said, you know, that's not really something that we're all that interested in. Not everyone, but I would say pretty clear majority said, be very careful about that. And we heard that in our customer survey, not specifically on cryptocurrency, but when we talked about economic development. People were willing for us to incur some cost to produce economic development, but they also said, don't make it too much. Don't make our rates go up a lot as a result of that. So with cryptocurrency, what's happened is we did put a new rate in place a couple of years ago. We have seen when the increase in prices in cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, occurred last year in the spring and summer, that we didn't get an increase in requests for service. So it appears to have managed that reasonably well, consistent with what we heard from our customers. And again, this is what I love about working for Public Power. You first of all say, what do you want? You know, we can do lots of different things here. Our customers tell us what they want, then we react to that.
Oh, that's good. Let's look at the other forms of revenue that the PUD receives from its contract customers, such as, let's say, Alcoa and Puget Power, and those. Can you give us a status on that?
Yeah, so those contracts have been in place for quite a while, and they're just they've got till 2028 for Alcoa, 2031 for Puget. So we're really in the middle years of that. They're working extraordinarily well. We have good working relationships with Puget in particular because we're continuing to deliver power to them. They get a good deal, we get a good deal. We're both happy with the way that contract is working. Alcoa, we're certainly disappointed that Alcoa is not operating. And we continue to hope that they will find a way to be able to reopen that plant. But every year that goes by, we get more concerned as to the likelihood of
It's a
that
big
plant
chunk of
operating.
money.
It's a big chunk of money. I will say I'm very happy with the fact that Alcoa has continued to be a good partner. We have not had difficult issues that we've had to resolve. Although they're not operating, they continue to pay under the contract as they're required to do. We have lots of working level issues that come up. They get resolved. They get resolved in the way that they should be resolved. It's a good partnership still, and we'll cross our fingers that that plant can come back. We did include in our performance plan this year, though, beginning to consider what should happen post 2027. What kinds of thoughts do we want to put into what comes next? Is it an extension of an Alcoa contract? Is there an alternative to that? Those are things that are we'll begin to discuss this year. They don't have to get resolved, but we should be thinking about them now.
And I know that there are other economic development efforts underway to possibly find new life for that property down there near Malaga.
Well, clearly there aren't
It's an
that
opportunity
many big,
zone after all.
Yeah, that's right. And there aren't that many nice pieces of flat property around. So
Right.
People are always going to be thinking about that.
Steve Wright is the PUD's general manager. They have a final public hearing on this rate plan coming up on February 3rd, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And so that will be your final opportunity to comment on this. Are you expecting action on that day?
No, because you always want to listen and take
Sure.
into account any public comment that you get. We have advertised the fact that we've had previous discussions at the board level, including our last two meetings about rates. We've only had one customer show up so far, to tell you the truth, and that one was to express support for the action that we were taking. I can't say I'm completely surprised by that because we may have worn people out with the amount of activity that we've had, the number of times that we've gone out to customers and talked to them about the fact that this is on the plate and something that we're considering. But we always welcome our customers to come to our board meetings and express their views.
Very good. Well, we really appreciate you stopping by to talk to us about this. One final thing that I wanted to ask you, and it's kind of off script here, but could have something to do at least with the expenses at the PUD, and that has to do with cybersecurity, because it has been kind of one of those front and center issues here, especially with the recent terror activity in the Middle East and the possible retaliation by Iran or other bad actors in attacking our electrical grid through cyber threat. I'm sure that you're on top of that and that the PUD is probably aware and working to make your grid a lot safer, huh?
Constantly working to be on top of it is the way I would put it, because bad actors are constantly evolving in the threats that they expose us to. Certainly the events in Iran did send a warning flag up for everyone in the electric utility industry. I will say that we received that warning flag at Chelan PUD. The bad guys will seek any avenue they can find to get into the bulk electric power system, and even a relatively small utility like Chelan PUD could be a vehicle for them to be able to get into the bigger system and then do real damage. So we are part of a national system. We consider ourselves part of the national security defense system, that we are on the front lines just like every other electric utility that's out there. We regularly talk and discuss where those threats are coming from. We get information from the national security system. We try to make sure that we understand that, we integrate it, we take action based on the evidence that's brought forward to us. So very big issue for us. I'd love to tell you, don't worry, it's not a problem. I can't tell you that. I worry about it all the time. Because, again, these bad guys, they're constantly thinking of new ways to try to get into our system. And the one thing I will promise you is we're going to do everything we can.
It's the world we live in.
It is, unfortunately.
Now, any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Just how much I want to say thank you to Chelan County customers for the way that they participated in this process. We had nearly 3,000 customers who responded to our survey. That's amazing. Right? I mean, the folks that do survey work for us said, we're not accustomed to that kind of response, to this kind of effort. And I think the fact that Chelan County PUD customers really understand that they own this system and that they're voice does matter in the decisions that get made. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I just encourage them to stay involved with us, keep working with us. We're going to do the best we can to try to represent the values of this community.
I suppose I can't let you go without at least commenting on the other parts of your system, including water, wastewater, and fiber. Those rates are also going to be going up?
Yes, a little bit different issues there. What we're trying to do, and this again came out of our customer survey, we asked the question, should we have been moving those businesses to try to make them financially sustainable, where they could stand on their own without money coming across from the electric side?
An enterprise fund, in other words. Huh?
Yeah, and our customers had a very measured response to that. Again, it was kind of like economic development. It was, yeah, but don't raise the rates too much for them. And so slight difference with respect to water and wastewater, it's a 4% annual rate increase. And for fiber, it's a 3% annual rate increase. We felt like that put them on the path. It wouldn't be right away, but it puts them on a longer term path towards financial self-sustainability. So again, thank you to our customers. Really thoughtful response to the questions that we asked that's given us good guidance and told us the direction we should be going in.
Well, those of us who live here in north central Washington and Douglas and Chelan County, we're very, very fortunate to have the low power rates and reliable service that we do have. So we appreciate everything you're doing, Steve, and thanks for stopping by and talking to us.
Oh, thank you for having us. Again, this is a big part of the way that we can reach out to the community, and so we really appreciate the partnership we have with you.
You betcha. There's a reason why his wife calls him Mr. Wright. Steve Wright, the PUD, joining us on In Focus. I'm Steve Hare for NCW Life.
Hi, Justin here, owner of Club Crow Bar and Grill in Cashmere. Club Crow is your place for famous blues, brews, and barbecue. We are your one-stop bar and grill, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. Looking for a fun night out? Join us at Club Crow Saturday nights. We have live bands to rock the night away. Club Crow is bringing comedy to Cashmere. Check out our Facebook page for upcoming dates. Live jam session first Sunday of every month. Club Crow Bar and Grill in Cashmere, the coolest place in town.
You don't have to be a member to enjoy the view and dine in style at Highlander Bar and Grill in East Wenatchee. Highlander Grill offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner with dine-in or takeout options. Highlander Grill's friendly staff is here to serve you 7 days a week this winter. Contact Shalane, Highlander Grill's site coordinator, to schedule your corporate event or special occasion.
You want to help others. You need a solid career. You can have both with help from Charter College. Our 10-month medical assistant program prepares you to work in healthcare settings like physician offices, rehab centers, and clinics. You'll learn to take vitals, assist with exams, administer injections, and maintain records. When you're ready to launch a rewarding healthcare career, stop by our campus at 595 Grant Road across from Safeway, or visit chartercollege.edu.
Are you like many who are lacking in their retirement plan but are skeptical to talk to an advisor? Are you concerned about where you should put your money or who to trust? At Solomon Financial, we are more about the people we serve than policies or products. We are a fee-based fiduciary with the mission of giving you the peace of mind so you can live the retirement of your dreams. If you have any of these questions or concerns, we'd welcome you to come see us.
And we are back here from Studio 3 in downtown Wenatchee. Let's take one more look at that weather forecast from the National Weather Service. Yeah, another nice day today. No real problems at all. We'll top off right around 40 or 41 degrees. We're going to have some sun breaks later on today after the clouds and the fog burn off. Patchy fog tonight. Otherwise, clouds will be thickening up in the overnight hours as you're sleeping. We'll get down to about 30 degrees. Tomorrow, it's another period of rain. Basically, what we're seeing is all this week and into the weekend, we had quite a bit of rain on Monday, a little over 1/4 inch of rain yesterday. Then we're dry today, rainy Wednesday, dry Thursday, rainy Friday, that kind of deal. Basically every other day. So quite a bit of rain expected on Wednesday, high of about 38 degrees. The snow level is going to be at 1,600 feet tomorrow morning, but it's not going to rain tomorrow morning. By the time it starts raining around 10 o'clock or so Wednesday morning, the snow level will have already been Above the valley floor, it'll be up to about 2,600 feet. So rain to the Wenatchee Valley, but significant snow expected in the mountain passes. Just a reminder there. Then we dry out Wednesday night. Overnight low about 32. Thursday, not a lot happening. Snow level's going to go up to 3,500 feet. Not a lot of moisture out there. We'll top off at 40 degrees. And then Friday, good chance of rain. High right around, 50 or so, 51 on Saturday with continuing chance of rain. Then this parade of storms finally ends on Sunday. Everybody go out and have a fantabulous Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.